Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
We're going to talk about the Acolyte.
Oh boy.
We haven't talked about the Acolyte on this channel too much.
I think we've talked about it quite a bit.
I've been focusing on Ahsoka lately, but I don't really see anything Ahsoka to talk about right now, so we're going to talk about the Acolyte instead. Which is funny that the Acolyte's getting so much press and attention when Skeleton Crew is next on the docket.
It's getting press and attention because they
For
are...
all the wrong reasons.
Yes, I was going to say, because some of the people involved have said some things that have irked people or rubbed them the wrong way.
Yeah, but how come nobody's talking to the Skeleton Crew?
Nobody's talking about Skeleton. I can't find anything about like Skeleton Crew at all.
It's going to come out and be a total mystery. It's going to be really bizarre that way.
Well, I mean, we'll get some... As soon as Ahsoka's over, I'm sure it's full speed ahead with the Skeleton Crew. I'm sure there's going to be connections, right, in Ahsoka, right?
Right.
I can't believe they wouldn't try to push it a little bit.
There'll be something. What I found interesting is today we actually finally found a copy of the entire version of the Acolyte trailer online.
I did, for the first time I've seen the whole thing.
We saw beyond the grainy stuff that I usually see.
Yeah, beyond the bobbing
and it looked
heads.
Cool for the rest of it that I could see.
It looks
cool. A really
like
neat looking Nemoidian. He looked really good.
He did. Mm-hmm. A lot of alien-looking things and a lot of Jedi.
Lightsabers.
I mean, if you take that out of the context of everything that has been kind of said about it negatively, or not said about it negatively, but some of the people involved have said things.
The politicking of the actors and actresses
Yeah.
and the director and people involved in the show. You just got to ignore that, man.
Well, you don't have to ignore it because you do want to know what you're getting yourself into, I guess.
I value the story over the personal opinions of those who
but if the story is definitely reflected by their personal opinions or
then
a result
it should be evident in the show.
It should be,
If I don't see it in the show, then I don't care. Well, but I have a lot to cover, so let's keep moving.
I'm rambling, so...
The Dagobah Dispatch had a conversation with 3 of the Acolyte stars back in April during Celebration, which they have just now released. This one was with Daphne Keane, Manny Jacinto, and Charlie Barnett. Manny kind of puts it that the fight sequences are looking to satisfy Phantom Menace Duel of the Fates fans.
Okay.
Saying...
That's a tall task.
Saying if you loved that sequence with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, I think you're going to enjoy this show. Charlie chimed in, kind of talking about the stunt work and preparation involved. He said, I will say too, not to shade, but we have a lot more tangible physical moves than I saw in that fight. As badass as it is, there's a lot more grounded work that goes into our stunt training and our stunt performances. We have an awesome stunt team too, doing so much without cables, without CGI, and without a lot of effects. It makes the fight seem much more visceral. I know I've been hit on the head a couple of times. And then Daphne Keane from Logan commented as well, saying, even the way the stunts have been coordinated, they come from an Asian background. All the fight training we have gone through is so heavily influenced by samurai, martial arts. There's a lack of guns, which personally, as someone who loves fighting and stunts and stuff, I love. Because it gives you that body-to-body choreography, that dance feeling. It actually looks like a real fight as opposed to just, I point and I shoot. Which is an easy kind of cop-out in a way. We have a lot of sabers, and Chris Cohen and Mark Ginther and Darjan Nupp have choreographed all of these wonderful, wonderful stunts in such a beautiful way. It's visually stunning. We have watched some stuff the other day, and it was just gorgeous. And then we have a bunch of fights as well, where there are no sabers. It's also really fun and does look really gritty and real. It feels like a fight.
What's kind of ironic, I guess you could say, is like Duel of the Fates is probably the coolest looking saber battle in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. But it is also looks very choreographed.
It looks very choreographed.
Yeah,
yes.
and it's kind of intentionally so. It's supposed to be kind of like a dance. They're doing their moves. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, and I've heard Lucas explain it. But, it's interesting if they're trying to go for that more almost poetic look to the fights, or if they actually are wanting to make it look more gritty.
Right.
I'm kind of curious, because that's kind of like a conflicting thing. Like, you can't... I don't think of gritty when I think of Duel of the Fates.
No.
So,
it is definitely a dance. It's poetry in motion.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not trying to tear apart the description. I'm pointing out, like, those are I don't think... gritty when I think
but
that.
They also
those
said
are two
if
different
you
descriptions.
liked that kind of fight,
sure,
then you should like this. They're just making the work seem a little less over the top, a little more like this is what a realistic human can accomplish.
Well, they're not humans; they're aliens, and they're also force sensitive. So,
yes.
But I get what you're saying. Yes,
They're trying to make it a little less over the top and more like this is how maybe they would actually fight, but it has that nature to it. Hopefully, that we do see in Duel of the Fates.
Well, we had an interesting talk in voice chat the other night about anime versus or animated, not anime, animated Star Wars versus live action, and how you can almost argue it lends itself better to animation for lightsaber fights, because some of the things that are a little, Ahsoka was what brought us to the topic, and how she fights in Clone Wars. She's very, very acrobatic beyond any human capability, and if you kind of put that on screen, you might make it look kind of goofy. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not talking like Yoda flipping around goofy. I'm talking...
I don't know. Yoda flipping around goofy sounds...
I didn't really mind the Yoda flipping around. He's, it is what it is. But you know what I mean? Like, Ahsoka could look very strange in live action if she's doing some of the things she does in Clone Wars. So, sometimes Star Wars actually works better animated, was the conclusion, I guess. Anyway...
Then they talked about how they feel that the Acolyte, separates itself from the rest of the Star Wars projects going on right now. Manny says maybe he's just biased, but with our show, you can enjoy it with your whole family and understand everything and be entertained. That's a high entertainment value. You can't tell me you're having gritty fights and then tell me the whole family can watch and understand.
Like I said, I think they're using gritty in the wrong way here. I don't think they mean... I think they mean kind of more... You're kind of in there with the combatants more so than you might normally be. I think that goes along with the gun comment where you got one side shooting at the other side. It's not really like a personal fight in a way.
Right. Keen said it has a lot of young energy and older energy. It's very camp. It feels like a very human, emotional story wrapped up in this epic thriller. That's what drew me to the project, how human, how real it feels.
Star Wars is very human, despite all the aliens. It's something you can very much attach yourself to personally.
Right, it's got a lot of emotions and a theming that relate to a lot of people.
Yeah, and we can all relate to some of the characters in Star Wars. That's kind of what made it successful.
Charlie Barnett pointed out how the show is kind of in response to what some, and the fandom of course, feel is an over-reliance on CGI, and how the show is aiming to give fans that practical feel in production. He says, this is a response to the fans, what they've been calling for. I, even as a fan, have been asking for more aliens, more Jedi, more tangible worlds, more builds, less green screen. Just knowing Leslie, being a playwright, being based around structure, she wanted to build all of that into one production and give it to the fans as a thank you. That's a lot to live up to. I hope we can live up to that.
Yeah, I think CGI has become too relied upon. Yeah, it looks so... Some of the things they do with CGI... I mean, it's funny because we just talked about how sometimes Star Wars looks better in animation because you can do the things that don't look good in live action. But at the same time, I think CGI, the reliance on it just makes it look so big sometimes. Like some of the crazy fight scenes you'll see in superhero movies look so big that you're like, I can't even wrap my mind around what's going on right now in a way. Or they're so... Marvel's been doing it a lot. Everything is so colorful all the time. And every time they go to an alien world or a quantum realm, everything's just colorful and strange, and you're like,
it's so it out there that you're like, it looks cheap.
It's CGI, yeah. It's so CGI looking that I can't even process what you're even trying to convey here, I guess. I don't know.
That's when the other two kind of jumped on to what he was saying. Daphne saying, the stuff we watched, it felt very much like the original trilogy, which I loved that it kind of has that feeling. And Giancino said, so you see the little strings on the ships because we ran out of money. Ha 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 ha. When Daphne jumped in with, we did run out of money.
Everybody's running out of money at Disney.
Running out of money. But we'll see how this goes. We've got a ways to go before the Acolyte comes out. It might even get pushed back even further because of all the strikes going on. We shall see.
But you can see it in the trailer. I mean...
If you can get your hands on it.
If you can find the trailer.
You can find it.
It looks good. Again, if you take it out of context, you just look at it, you hear what they're saying. It looks very practical. It looks very kind of in the trenches with the characters. I don't know.
I would have loved to be able to include that into this video for you, but then I would get strikes.
Well, it'd just be taken down eventually.
I'd be sad that no one would hear us anymore.
Well, they don't. They don't come to our home and eliminate us if we use one.
All right, moving on.
Anyway.
Billy Dee Williams finally announced his super secret major announcement that he's been hyping up on social media because everyone thought he was coming back as Lando because everyone's like, what's going on? What's Billy Dee got to say? And no, he's announcing his autobiography titled What Have We Here? Coming out in February.
I was wondering how you'd read that if you try the Lando voice.
I did okay.
You are not Billy Dee Williams.
No. Nobody is but Billy Dee Williams.
No, there's only one man that's ever been that smooth.
86 years old.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. He wrote a book that described by his editor as fun and, like Billy, hard to resist and draws you in. The publisher highlighted how the story told by the book describes a career that was unchecked by the racism and typecasting so rife in the mostly white industry in which he triumphed. Which, back when Star Wars was coming out, I could
In the
definitely
early
think...
80s, late 70s? Sure.
Yeah.
Different world.
Different world, different times, and he definitely was a triumph within it. Billy Dee Williams said, I saw how absurd my life has been at times, and how fortunate it's been. I had fun reliving those memories. I hope it brings back memories for readers too. I saw how many times throughout my life I wanted to go right, and some force in the universe caused me to turn left instead, and things worked out. His central topics in the book, judging of course from the title, what to expect, is his role, his life in the Star Wars franchise, which he joined in 1980. He of course came back in Return of the Jedi, then again in the 2019 Rise of Skywalker, and then he got recast in the solo prequel with Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. That story is actually set to continue on in a...
Maybe, sure. I'll believe it when I see it.
But we don't expect to see Billy Dee back for that at all. Though
No.
I would actually really like it if maybe he did a voiceover.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about my life.
The Lando
or something-
Chronicles,
something
narrated
like
by...
that.
Yeah, have
that'd be
him...
really cool. Like have him opening it up
Yep,
like
yep.
he's telling a story from his past.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. It would also pay homage, of course, to him. I would really love to see that. But What Have We Here comes out February 13th next year.
Very cool. All right, well, that's all we got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you think of any and all of today's news. And let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.